All right, can everybody hear me so far? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
All righty. Got people coming in still. It's been a wild ride so far. I think the people are still signing up a little bit. How did everyone's first sessions go? Give everybody just a little more time. The topic of this Birds of Prey is how to provide new student or faculty orientation remotely. It's not quite 11:30 yet. People are still looking like they might be coming. Hello, welcome. I've got a couple more on my list. It's just now 11:30, so I will give people just another minute or so, and then we can get started. I have one more who's supposed to be here. Hi, I'm Karis. I am the assistant to the CIO here at Emporia State University. Thank you guys for joining us. It's been an experience here, and just really appreciate everyone's patience for our first virtual conference. And if you guys want to go ahead and get started, the topic of our Birds of a Feather is how to provide new student or faculty orientation remotely. Does anyone want to open up the floor with the discussion?
I just want to say from Fort Hays' standpoint, we're just really curious, I guess, what everybody else's plans are in that way. Are we going to do webinars? Are you going to have pre-recorded things for them to go through, or is it going to be more interactive with one-on-one using Zoom to train them? Just kind of see what everybody else's plans are.
Anyone have a plan they would like to share? I know for us personally, we have our students kind of set in stone. We do have an open full-time search. I know that we use a lot of Teams messaging. Most of our HR, the paperwork side, is handled through OnBase. So we have kind of tried to start going or encouraging people to go as paperless as possible already. I don't know that, without having done it once yet, we know we have a 100% plan in place, but so far we've done most of our communicating via online methods, and I know that OnBase has been a pretty big help to our workflow process so far. We don't have to go over to HR anymore, and we can kind of just do it all in our department. So does anybody else have anything that they're doing or have done even?
Hey, this is Susie from KU. I don't have much knowledge into the changes we've made on like the faculty, staff, new employee side, but I've been working with our group at IT and then our group in charge of student orientation. It's actually the main orientation over the summer is created and executed by this group, first year experience at KU. And so what they're planning to do, they're using they've used an application or a vendor, Visual Zen, for orientation, mainly to manage registration, but now they're building out onto that and using that for the actual online delivery of orientation. And so what the plan is that, oh yeah, I have a train by my house and it's gonna go by right now. Okay, well, I'll just keep talking. The plan is for the students still will have an orientation date. So there'll still be a live session to orientation. It'll just be that they'll get some materials ahead of time and they'll be asked to view those ahead of time, and then on their date of orientation they'll go to some live sessions, and then they'll also meet with their student-to-student group and their advisor through Zoom. And so they're still they hold orientation Tuesdays through Fridays, June 2nd through the end of July, and they take a week break for the 4th of July. But they're still planning on having hundreds of students come through orientation this summer. And one thing that we're working with them on, in addition to all the IT materials that our training and outreach group is doing a great job on, we're also working with them to provide iPhones to lend out to students who don't have internet access or a webcam or a computer to participate. So one of the things that our fiscal group did is they were trying to procure a bunch of Wi-Fi hotspots. They ended up getting some Wi-Fi hotspots, but then a lot of, I think probably 40 iPhones to use as a hotspot. And so we're using some of the iPhone 7s, which is like the later model that they procured, and trying to work with First Year Experience to ship those out for kind of a short-term loan to students who need them for orientation.
That all sounds really good, Susie. I don't know how, I don't do a whole lot with the student side of orientation. Like we have that same thing called First Year Experience here at Fort Hays, and they handle all that. I'm curious what their plans are. I don't know much in that way, but for our faculty, I think Sarah's on this call. She's our technical training coordinator, and she usually would meet with new faculty and kind of teach them some of the various systems that they need to learn. So I'm thinking probably those would be doable through Zoom, and just kind of devise a plan that lays out all those things virtually, I guess. I mean, we did just have somebody start in our department, and I don't know what their experience was getting onboarded. I think I probably should check on that, but yeah, I think, utilizing Teams and Zoom and, just online pre-recordings of various systems and trainings, I think we'll probably still be able to, give them a good orientation. It's still just not yet, they're going to miss out on the walking around the office and meeting people and those type of things. I think that you can't really duplicate in a virtual environment. But yeah, I am really curious how our student orientation is going to look. I'll have to follow up on that.
I'm actually curious how it's going to go. I haven't said anything to the group about it, but I think they're planning for the morning kickoff to still happen at 8 a.m. And I just wonder if like 8 a.m. means the same thing anymore, because my son, he's 5, but he stays up later and he sleeps in later, and time isn't really the same thing anymore.
Is there anybody else from other universities? I think ESU, KU, and Fort Hays is on. Is anybody else on from K-State or anywhere else that wants to share anything about what their plans are?
I'm from Pitt State, and we call it CARES, and we're doing CARES online. So everything is going to be online, and they're actually going to go into a Canvas class and do everything. And we actually made them an assignment where they will upload their picture for their ID card. And so we had our programmers help us in working in that so that we have something built in that. And today we actually got our first 2 tickets in Team Dynamics for pictures for the students. So we gave them a list of guidelines of what the picture needed to be. And of the 2 we got, one is wrong. We set a white background and it's a brown background, and he has brown hair. So you can't differentiate the 2. Really good picture. So that's what we're doing. And we also had a new employee in our department start, our new admin, and I've just been doing her training through Teams. So that's how we're handling that.
That's a really cool idea about making it a course that they can complete. I like that. To pass that along to, yeah, I like that.
And we have what's called CARES leaders, and they're actually students. So they will be online the whole day of the day they actually were supposed to come to CARES. So that if they have any questions, they can actually ask the CARES leaders like they would have been able to do in person.
Yeah, I know also some groups on our campus are doing webinars throughout the summer to try to like provide a little bit more information and get students excited about school. We still use Blackboard here, so one's going to be on using Blackboard, using Zoom, kind of all those skills that they may need, you need to use for school in the fall, especially if for some reason we need to go online. They're kind of addressing those things as well. And then they're planning to hold virtual office hours every day of orientation so that if there is a specific question, they can just jump into the office hours and ask someone. I think it's being staffed by our customer service center and our outreach team.
Does anyone have, so when we're talking about student orientation, are you guys all going back? When are you guys coming to campus? Do you have a specific date set? Is it up in the air? So,
I have not heard anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like up in the air, I think. You know, I read the various news things, and I think I saw something about KU had released a plan for a possible fall on campus. But at this point, I mean, I think everybody's making that plan. I know our strategic team that's working on everything is planning what that will look like if it does happen. So I know those steps are being taken, but nothing officially has been announced at Fort Hays. I know.
So is everybody making, sub plans from plans, or is everyone doing basically like a face-to-face plan and if we have to do it online? I mean, I think right now that's what we're doing, sort of just making.
I think it's such a fluid situation. WSU is really planning to be, we're planning to be back this fall, but we're telling all the professors and everything to prepare as a hybrid, because you may have some students that are not comfortable coming back. And we may get, a second wave at some point, and suddenly you're back virtual when you had planned to be on site. So they just really want everybody to be prepared, and are telling people today, we don't know, we're hoping that we can be back on campus, but you got to prepare for both.
Yeah, I also had heard that, kind of thinking that there could possibly be, we go to campus and then get, have to go back virtual if there's another wave. So yeah, I think that all those contingencies, we have to just consider them and plan for them. But I think we're mostly planning that we will be back in the fall, but it really could go anyway.
Very cool. I mean, we have, there's scenario planning is what we're calling it, but it's very interesting.
I think that's one thing our team was looking at, because we in a typical year we would be at orientation for student orientation. We'd be there every day, and we give presentations to each small group of students to tell them about Microsoft Office, our customer service center, and wireless, and we get them connected to email on their phone. Well, as we were preparing to move to online, we kind of were just thinking like, how do we do what we do in person online, and we weren't like really even. Initially, we didn't even really address like what's going on right now. And so then we kind of took a step back, and I say there's another group of people that do all this work. So I haven't really done any of it, but so there's one of the webinars I think is supposed to be, or some of the information is supposed to be like, if the plan is to be on campus for the fall, if it needs to move to orientation, if it needs to move to online, this is what you could expect based on what happened now, just to try to kind of bridge that topic, because people are going to wonder.
Our plan at Pitt State right now is that we are coming back in the fall. But again, it's just like you guys said, it's a totally fluid plan. It depends on what's happening, but our plan is to bring kids back. I know one of the things they've talked about is in the dorm rooms, it's just going to be one student per dorm. So I just think there's still so much for us to learn and see how things are going to work. But I think they're thinking from the help desk perspective, which is where I work out of, is that we probably won't have people back until maybe late July, early August. At some point, we're going to have to come back. just to print the ID cards if the students are going to be allowed on campus. So that's kind of where we are at that point.
You know, I just was thinking about something that I think, you know, when I've heard a little bit of talk about, you know, the possibility of some of our classes being online and others that require you to be on campus, you know, to limit the amount of people on campus, students and that kind of thing. Things like, you know, in the art department, sculpture, you can't do sculpture from home. You need access to those things. And there's a lot of programs that are that way. So I guess that's just something that I know they've tossed around is, you know, having some of the courses that you can offer online while others would be on campus. But again, I think that's all just in planning talks too.
Can everyone
This-
go ahead? Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. Hey, let me turn my video on so I can see you guys too. This is Sarah Taggart. I'm from Fort Hays as well. I'm just gonna chime in about what Kristen was talking about with us. I know right now we're just in the working out some modules for online for Fort Hays. So first module is doing like videos, activities, things that will be released on the website for students. So Taylor Crowley, who's in student affairs, is doing like a welcome, and then we're doing virtual tours, things like that they can go to on the website. But all of that is right now, I'm just part of that committee, just getting part of that committee, because the second module for that is the technology aspect of it. So showing them how to use their Tiger Tracks and how to log into the website and use those other modules for on my end. We have the material out there on the website. However, there's no videos for it. So that's why they're working with me on that kind of stuff. So I think it's all up in the air right now. I'm not really sure. Like I said, they want to do like virtual tours of campus. So I know they're working with our help desk staff to kind of give a tour of that layout. And I think actually have a little brief interview with our VP prior to that. And I think the plan is to do that with every department on campus so that they're available. So I haven't, we meet again at the beginning of June. So I'm not really sure what their expectations are at this point. I'm just kind of in the process with our section of it. So just wanted to touch base and piggyback on Kristen's stuff. So.
Can everybody read the comments? Does everybody have those up on the pages? I just didn't know if anyone else had had any experience with the augmented reality glasses or any VR for this. I mean, I know that probably Teams and Zoom are you know, our biggest ways of communicating at the time, and I don't have some of that. Well, maybe we do, but I personally don't use some of the other things you guys were talking about. But does anyone done anything with VR at all, or the virtual reality or augmented reality glasses?
I haven't, but sounds really cool.
We actually, and when we went to work from home, we used to just have one chat, and that was for Gorilla Geeks, which is our help desk. And we actually have a guy locally that has a business. And so he helped us make chats for a bunch of different departments at school. So now we have like 10 different places people can go chat with, which really helps us out at Geeks, because we're not having to answer admission questions or financial aid questions that would always come to us before, and we would have to tell them to go there. And so through admissions, they have some virtual tours that they have that they can actually put them in the virtual tours for incoming students, prospective students, any of those things. And so I get a report each week saying how many people have gone and looked. And just like for the admissions one, this past week, we had like 700 people go to that link. They didn't all click on it, of course, and get in a chat, but they had 60 some chats last week. So we have found that that has been a really positive tool for us, and we've been using that. And so it's great because my Guerrilla Geeks are working from home, and so, you know, allows them to still get paid for actually doing work. So that's been really good for us at Pitt.
We actually have, same scenario where we had mostly just that chat that was for technical and it was just overarching. But I think it was maybe a couple weeks ago, we implemented one of those chat bots where you ask a question, you have like predefined answers to those questions, and it tries to like, you know, figure out what they want and get them where they need to go without actually chatting with someone. I think our admissions office maybe it was our online office that spearheaded that, but I think that stuff really does help, you know, get people where they want to go. With this day and age, most people are checking the web first before they pick up a phone anyways. So yeah, I think that stuff's really cool that we can utilize those type of things.
Curious what vendors or systems you're using for your chat functionality.
We're using Talk2, and it's TAWK.TO, and it's actually free. You can hire people to do your chat for $1 an hour, but we don't want to do that. We want them to talk to real people from Pitt State who knows the answer for them. But yeah, it's all free. So that's been a really good tool, and we really like it. We had an old tool that went through Skype that one of our programmers had made, and this is 10 times better, or really 100 times better. There's an app that the students all download, and even the people in the different departments. So even if they're busy and away from their office, as long as they have their phone, they can still do the chat tool. So we really like the Talk2. It's TAWK.TO.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'll have to look at that. We are paying for our chat, I know. And I think ours is called Live Chat, is the software that we use. But the chat bot is part of the admissions. I think it was Admit Hub. I'd have to look what that was, but it's part of another admissions type software that it was like an add-on for us. I think it's called Admit Hub.
We have a new person who just joined. Do you have any specific questions for us, or
No, I'm assuming you're talking about me. I'm Steve.
yeah.
No, I just wanted to join in, kind of hear what other people were doing. And, you know, I manage the faculty orientations on the Edwards campus for KU, and just kind of trying to explore what other people are doing. I will need to do one for fall semester at some point, and I think the question is still out, you know, on whether that will be face-to-face or virtual, and just trying to hear what you guys are doing. Obviously quite a bit behind, so may have missed all that, and that's fine.
Yeah, you didn't miss a whole lot. It's we talked about how we all don't really know what we're going to be doing, with that same thing in mind, that we don't know whether we're going to be on campus or whether we're going to be virtual, and looking at what those type of orientations are going to look like. We kind of discussed how most everyone is just planning both options, I think, at this point, you know, planning for a virtual type of an orientation, student side and faculty and staff. And then also, you know, our typical in-person, if we are able to go that route.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, Steve works at KU over at their Edwards campus. I was just saying, Steve, that the first year experience for our orientation, they're moving it all online, and there's going to be some asynchronous activities to do the week before orientation they're still going to keep their orientation date, and then there's going to be live activities the day of orientation, including Zoom meetings with their student-to-student groups and Zoom meetings with their advisors. But I don't know, as far as faculty and staff go here at KU, I haven't actually been in on those conversations, so I don't know what's changed. I know we had like a orientation session that would be held for faculty and staff once a month and they moved that all online maybe a year ago. So I don't know what changes have been made really in light of this.
And I reached out to Jenny Mehmetovich to try to figure out if she knew, and she said she was still unclear. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we typically, when in the fall, when we have all of our new faculty show up, we have this, huge day. I think it's 2 days. They're going through all these different trainings and all the different departments. They just go all around campus. And I have not heard what steps are being taken at Fort Hays. Sarah, I don't know if you've heard what steps are being taken at Fort Hays, but ideally, if that environment I don't know. I guess we probably need to be looking at what that might be online. So Susie, you already do that whole thing online. Is that what you said?
Yeah, and we're just like a couple slides of it, but we have a system, My Talent is what they branded it. I guess it's SuccessFactors is the system, and it's kind of our learning management system for employees, faculty and staff, and it has it's both like learning management and performance management. It has where employees go to do goal setting. That's where you do your annual review. But then it also has courses you can take, and that is integrated with KU has a lynda.com, or I guess it's LinkedIn Learning membership. So it's all kind of in one place.
Okay. I'm kind of wondering now, if Blackboard, and having a course for faculty in there would be a good option. Like, you guys had said you're doing for students at Pitt State. That might be a good alternative for that faculty. Something to think about.
For a state, it's kind of almost like everyone's in faculty. We had to have everyone become online teachers very fast. So we are doing these trainings called Jumpstart trainings, and it's our Canvas, our learning tech Canvas coordinators who are actually holding classes basically for faculty to get everything online, and kind of to do it in a hurry, but we're going to keep going with it and hope that everybody kind of wants to have that backup plan, or at least know how to have that backup plan. So
I think that's one thing that I think Fort Hays kind of uniquely, we have a lot of online classes already. So a lot of our faculty are familiar with that environment, just even if they did one of their courses, online, and the majority were on campus. I think that helped us with that transition tremendously, because a lot of them it's something they were already doing. We had to do a lot of course conversions. Our we have a teaching innovation and learning technologies group that had to work a lot of hours to get all those courses into Blackboard. But it's crazy how much all of the universities and in general pulled off in such a short amount of time to get that all up and going. So pretty impressive.
Our new faculty, when they come online, it's actually a week worth of stuff that they do. They have a ton of speakers coming in, and they teach them Canvas, which is our learning management system, and like they come to us at Geeks and we teach them stuff. So it will be interesting. I haven't heard a word of what it's going to look like, so it's going to be really interesting how they're going to do 4 full days for teachers.
Yeah, I think we'll all pull it off. But I think, if there's any unique, I don't know if from this meeting we can get linked up with emails from who was in attendance. I don't know. but that'd be kind of cool if we could share ideas if anybody comes across something that they are like, this was going to work great for that faculty orientation, those type of things, or even student stuff. I think that'd be cool if we could share that with each other as we go forward.
I did lock this meeting, just FYI. I don't know if that necessarily means to, as far as sharing your email here, but just wanted to let you all know.
I'm not really, Steve does a lot with educational technology and is more knowledgeable about it than I am. I know on the Lawrence campus, there's been some discussions because what we instructed or asked faculty to do and the resources we provided were more along the lines of like emergency remote teaching. And so now we're trying to say, how do we provide the right guidance on how you would actually do it, understanding that an online course takes months to design and create. And so I know that we have a group, the Center for Teaching for Excellence, another group, the Center for Online and Distance Learning, and then IT Ed Techs, who all work together, and they're kind of working on that plan for the summer to try to make that possible for the fall. A lot of, I think you all know, some faculty members have already been teaching online. They're very comfortable with it. Others, this was their first time and they might have had a poor experience given everything that was going on. So just trying to figure out how to, get things the best they can be for the fall.
Yeah, those groups had to go in overdrive, like our teaching innovation, our course designers, instructional designers. Wow. Ours got hit, which this is also kind of unique to Fort Hays, but we have two sister universities, I think most of you know, in China. And they shut down China in the middle of the last semester. So Sarah, was it December? I can't remember when they shut down, but we had to take all of our China courses online, and there was hundreds and hundreds of those. And so our teaching,
It was, yeah, it's
like,
right before break, I think, is when that all happened. So yeah,
so they had to go all online. So our teaching innovation and technologies group was in overdrive, just getting China settled with what they needed to do to finish out the rest of that semester. And then they were still converting stuff for China when this all hit, and it was like, oh, now all the classes need to go online. So yeah, real thankful for them. We have a really great group, small group. I think there's only, what do we have, 3 or 4 instructional designers?
we have 3, and 2 are actually on campus and 1 is remote. So
Yeah,
she works from her home, but yeah,
pretty
we're working
hard.
overtime.
Yeah. But another thing that I just think is so impressive, that how, and I kind of mimic what the and I forgot our keynote's name, but she had kind of mentioned that too, like, and I was really resonating, like, yeah, it is really impressive what everybody has done in this time and continues to.
We do have about 10 minutes left, just an FYI. If anybody has anything else they're definitely wanting to talk about.
So I'm Shaolin from K-State, and I thought it was really cool when you guys were talking about instructional design. And the College of Business is thinking of co-creating an audio book. So there's a lot of creativity coming out of all of this as well. So now that we're past the emergency phase, there are people that are trying to do more creative stuff. So I appreciated that I think Kristen mentioned the instructional design piece.
Yeah, and I think that also mimicking the keynote, how many things that we can really look at, like you said, we were in an emergency, get everything online, but now it's kind of like, what can we use going forward? What things showed up? What new technologies were we not using that we could have been using, and leveraging the good things that, we learned out of this to move forward.
Well, and one of the major challenges is from our architecture department, and because they do a lot of design studio stuff, and they use really, really heavy duty technologies. So each person has to pay all this extra money so they have access to this tech. And so the question is, how do you have the atmosphere of a 24/7 studio, the feedback for a studio, the access to all these technologies? And I actually don't even know the answer to that. I was working with the faculty on that before all this stuff came down. And so I'm gonna have to ask her, hey, so how did you guys solve that? How do you create, a design studio that's fully online?
That's exactly one of the challenges we're facing. And I think I'm on the check planning committee. So some of these topics came out of our group, and I don't know if this one's overlapping with that one, but that was one of the things that I was real curious about, because we're running into that exact same problem where we have our graphic design lab, and it has 27-inch iMacs with 4K resolution and all these things that these students need to learn graphic design and to be able to do that. And then limitations of we can't have them access that lab software. I reached out to Adobe to see, can we let our students from their home computer remote into the lab computer so they have access to the Adobe Creative Suite and the products that they need to learn. And the answer to that was no. And then another one of the birds of the feather is our Adobe contract that we're working out. So we're looking at, we're probably going to have to buy licenses for our students, in the graphic design department and various other departments that need that software. But you still run into that thing that they're not going to have the proper equipment. Even if we get them Adobe Creative Suite, they're not going to have a 27-inch iMac sitting in front of them. And same with our interior or industrial technology, all of that software. And so that's a really big challenge, I think, if we would end up going online. And that's when I kind of mentioned that some of those programs, just there's some things that you cannot mimic online. So we're going to have to figure out what we do about those things.
So I could be wrong, but I think Adobe gave all of our people on campus like a free license for a certain amount of time. And I do know Autodesk. Go ahead.
Oh, I think he was just saying, yeah, to July. I think they extended it to July 31st, that we can have that license for, and we have a lot of people utilizing that, but then it's kind of like what happens after that.
One thing I was just going to jump in and say, Kristen, you made me think of, we haven't actually figured this out yet, but one thing we were looking at is how to make technology device ownership easier. And so we've kind of created a lending program to lend out laptops. We don't have a whole lot of resources. Like we have 50 laptops right now. But what we have a discussion that's supposed to be going on with the union about maybe a program where a student could purchase a laptop but have a longer period of time to pay for it. Because oftentimes, like my experience when I was a student, I couldn't buy a computer because my refund for the first semester wouldn't cover the cost and I had no credit and blah, blah, blah. So we're seeing if we can work with our endowment in order to create a program where a student could buy a computer, like a great computer for their major, but have multiple semesters to pay for it.
Are you looking at like who would like support that loan? Like, are you saying like the endowment would kind of cover the cost to buy it and then the student would pay back through the endowment?
Yeah, and it's not a done deal, but that's where we're kind of heading to see if that will work. They could buy it through the union, have it financed through the endowment, through one of their loan options, and then be able to pay it off in a more manageable way.
That's a really cool idea. Because we were looking at that same thing, that we don't have the resources to go out and buy a whole bunch of laptops that we loan out. And then again, how do they come back? What kind of condition they come back in and all that. That's a cool idea. I like that.
I think what we also discovered that you can't really give a laptop to a student either because that impacts their financial aid. it becomes a scholarship of sorts. So the lending program was how we got around that. But if we could get a way for students to be able to just buy their own in a more manageable way, that's kind of why we're heading that direction.
I think that's a really, really pretty good solution to that problem. I hadn't thought about that, and I don't know what our endowment offers in the way of loans and how that financing would look, but I mean, at least it would get the computer in the students' hands that they need, you know, because the ones, especially in some of those specialized programs, you have to have. I mean, in our informatics department, you're looking at 3,000 or more, you know, and a laptop or whatever equipment. Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Susie.
Anyone else, guys? We've got about 3 minutes left.
I'm going to put my email in the chat here. And if anybody wants to share their cool ideas with me, there it is.
I'm not seeing it. Oh, yep, there it is. Sorry.
I added mine in there also. We are hearing from a lot of our instructors, and our instructors are afraid of coming back on campus and of having all the kids in a classroom with them.
Yeah, so Tracy, per your comment, we hear that there are some other kids who are really just super eager to come back to campus because they want to socialize and they're bored out of their minds. The question is honestly how to do it safely because, you know, this, you know, could go sideways. So I did hear that there was a university, Notre Dame, that's starting super early and they're finishing by Thanksgiving. So they're starting school like right now for fall.
That's interesting. I haven't really heard any feedback from our faculty or really any students about what their thoughts are on coming back. I mean, I'm kind of just listening to what the plans are, but I really haven't heard any feedback about what people want to do, I guess, or what they're comfortable with doing.
You know, that's really interesting about starting school for the fall early because summer jobs are just like non-existent for college kids. And so they might as well just kind of burn in and get after their studies, right? So I know a lot of students are taking summer classes that maybe wouldn't have otherwise.
We've heard that there's some talk about maybe skipping fall break and either ending at Thanksgiving or at Thanksgiving to the rest of the semester, just doing online classes then. Because we keep hearing, you know, that there's going to be another big wave come through at that time. So that's just some discussion that's, I guess, been happening with other universities. And so we have not made any decision on that, but our CIO was just throwing that out in a meeting we had the other day, just as, so we would kind of have an option or an idea of what some of the options are.
Guys, I hate to break it up. Does everyone have the emails that they want? Or, I mean, everyone who wants emails?
I just did the save chat log thing, and so
I have to be honest, my expertise is I have an MBA. I'm not a tech person. I do the office stuff for the tech department. So I do appreciate everyone's patience and for being here. Does anyone need help doing that? Saving everything?
there's just a little button at the bottom of the chat. You click it, it says more, and then save chat. It'll give you a little text file And I just emailed that to myself with my notes. And again, like I said, reach out to us if you have any awesome ideas.
Thank you guys, all of you, for being here, and I hope you have a good rest of your conference.
All right, thanks. Bye.